Liam, here we go again.
Yep, quick turnaround in the summer. So yeah, back at it, day two. So yeah, excited, looking forward to it.
I've just spoken to Ethan Robson, and obviously not so much for him, but for the rest of the players. Is there just a little mental hurdle to overcome after missing out in the playoffs? Is just maybe something to overcome before you get going in this season?
Potentially, if you allow it to be. I think it's something we spoke about as a staff. Obviously, the meetings before the players came back, and then we spoke about it with the players. I think it's really important we take the learning and the lessons from last year, but we don't talk around it too much. We move on. It's a new season. It will be a new group, new facility we're working at. So I think it's making sure that we control what we can and looking into the future rather than spending too much time looking at the past.
How long did it take you?
I had a few beers afterwards, I can tell you that, and a bit of a break. But no, it's one of those. I think it's difficult. It was a real mixed emotion at the end of the season. Obviously, so many positive aspects. When you look at it really bigger picture, quite an overachievement in expectations before the season started. So lots of things like that. But then it's obviously wanting more and coming so close makes it difficult. But the game finished. I had a few days, a week or so to get your head around it, to recharge, and then go right. Let's get ready for next season.
How have the players come back? Looking good?
Yeah, in good shape, to be fair. I think we've obviously Matt's away. He obviously did a terrific job with Wales, which is congratulations to him. So he's coming back next week. Obviously got a couple of injuries, and then the rest of the lads are coming back in good shape. So yeah, excited to see how the next few weeks go.
You're -1, of course. Harry Darling's moved on. Just a few words on Harry.
Harry was terrific. I can't speak highly enough of him, firstly as a person, but also as a player. It was a joy to work with, and obviously had an extremely good season. And it's one of those, just what the club's about. We showed that in January. Well, showed it last summer before coming in. With Twiney coming in for Scott Fraser, we showed it again in January with the recruitment we did, and obviously falling short. If players' journeys go quicker than what the team is, then what we're in a position now to do is obviously get good money and reinvest it in the club and the squad. So Harry goes with our best wishes, and I'm sure he'll continue to keep going on an upward trajectory.
It's a double-edged sword, I suppose, isn't it? When you're developing players, making them better, putting them in the shop window, you want them to play well for you as the head coach and man in charge here and for the club. But if they're going to develop, they're going to develop for you for that season, and then they're going to be saleable. Yeah,
obviously, look, the ambition doesn't change for this year. We want to push to get in the Championship. That's the challenge. Every year, it's not about coming in and going right. We want to finish mid-table. We want to finish up there. We also understand what we're up against and the challenges when you look at the size of the budgets and the size of the clubs in the league. But I think it's about being clear, and I think that gave us the edge last year, and hopefully we'll work to make sure it does again this season, and that we have real clarity in what we are. I think now, and I think the fans got on board with that last year, and it's sometimes unsettling for fans when they see so much transition, but you felt it. There was a large element of trust in Liam Sweeting and the staff behind the scenes, myself and the staff that we have to go. We're here for the club to work short, medium, and long term, and I think that's really important. When you come in, that you safeguard that.
And that recruitment seems to be working very well because Harry Darling's moved on, but Jack Tucker's come in, so the replacements are there, and all those scenarios that we've seen before with players leaving and being replaced by Liam and the team and yourself, obviously it's happened again with Jack.
Yeah, and Jack's a really good addition. Obviously had a large amount of interest from clubs at a higher level, so he's one that we were really close to and really keen to do in January, but couldn't get it over the line. So we've done a large amount of work on Jack, and when the season finished and we kind of knew where we were at, I think and the likelihood of Harry leaving, it was a no-brainer for us in that he's got some terrific qualities. You look at his age, his profile, the number of games he's played. I think coming in and I think he can show he's even better than what he's been able to. Obviously, Gillingham due to the styles. So I'm really excited by working. In working with him. He's a terrific character, which is really important for us in terms of when we recruit as well. So he's a great addition, and I'm looking forward to what he can bring this season.
And great to see Ethan back. A return to Stadium MK a little later than I think everyone wanted, but he's back and he's an MK Dons player. Yeah,
and you see him in training this morning. He's brings back his personality and his quality that we know he's got. So yeah, obviously it was what happens in January, right? That's football. What he had to go through, how we had to react. So when we knew it was a possibility of bringing him in, is a real good one for the culture, for the group, and also the team. So yeah, delighted to have him back. He's a terrific person that gets on well with players and staff.
the end of last season didn't necessarily finish in the best way for Josh McEachran, but he's signed a contract to be here for longer. An important boost for you as the head coach.
Yeah, you know, speaking with Josh, he openly admitted it. He missed pre-season last year through no fault of his own, with COVID, with injuries, etc. So I think seeing him back here, I think he can go on and have an even better year. When you look at his qualities, he's especially that run we went on second half of the season, you really saw his quality and how he imposed it on games, and that. And then he's stepping up, and he's really, in terms of his leadership, leaning on him a lot more. He's developing that side of his game, which maybe he hasn't had to do earlier in his career. But he's at that stage where I think he's got so much to give the group that it's me and the staff's job to push that responsibility on him and make sure he helps develop others and pushes others, and work hard to create that culture that we want. So delighted he's re-signed. He keeps talking about last year, but he was a big part of what happened last year, and will be a big part of what we go on to do this year.
Scott Twine, I've got to talk about Scott Twine, because tail end of last season everyone was talking about Harry Darling and Scott Twine, the two players amongst others at the club that would attract interest from elsewhere. What's happening with Scott Twine?
Well, yeah, naturally you're going to get that interest given how well he did. Obviously, League One Player of the Year. So as it stands, we've not had a bid that meets our valuation of him. There's obviously interest in him, but we're in a good, strong position where we can be quite strong in the valuation that that we hold and what we expect of him. So look, it's like I said a little while ago, if someone's journey goes quicker than the team's, and it's a fair deal for the club and a fair deal for the player, then it's something that you look at. But as it stands, we know there's interest, but there's not been a bid that meets our valuation.
So there's been bids, there's just nothing that's met the valuation.
Yeah, there's been a couple of bits, but not where it needs to be yet.
And from Scott's perspective, just get on with it, just train. That's all he can do, isn't it?
Yeah, and it sums him up as a person. Do you know what I mean? He's in here, he's working, he did the testing like everybody, and that again comes down to the culture. We'll treat you as a person first, so we'll have open communication. We'll treat you properly, and we expect that back. And he's a terrific character, Twiney. So you wouldn't expect anything different from him.
Is the money that's going to be made available? I mean, I don't know. I'm not privy to what's going on financially behind the scenes, but one would assume there'd be money from Harry Darling and there'll be money from Scott Twine if Scott Twine gets sold. Is that money then made available to you to go out and bring players into the football club?
Yeah, of course. There's a certain amount of it gets reinvested, and you look at what the chairman's done previously. He's invested in the squad, but again, it comes down to that clarity, and it's not as simple as we sell him for this. We have that much to spend. The structure of deals and how they're spread out, it doesn't make it as straightforward as that. So definitely, Jack Tucker's going to cost a fee. Some of the others that we're looking at and we're in for at the minute will cost fees. But again, I think it's having clarity of what we're trying to recruit and how we do that. And I think that it doesn't always come down to spending money. I think that's the key to it. But again, I can only speak highly enough of the chairman, the support he's given us in terms of that, and obviously Liam's doing a terrific job with Ram and the recruitment guys, and I have to say the coaching staff as well. It's a real collective of the recruitment. That's what makes it so aligned. I think is of course we challenge each other, but there's no battles in terms of what we're looking. We're all very aligned, and I've had some really good meetings in terms of the direction the team needs to go in and what players are available to us. Sum it up, we will be reinvesting, but like I said, the structure of it and how we do that doesn't always seem as it might do externally.
There will be movement, Mo, and between now and the end of the transfer window, at the end of the start of the season, there'll be movement. There'll be players in and potentially out.
Yeah, definitely. We've got to add to it. When you look at naturally with 5 loan players straight away, that's 5 out of your squad. So Premier League clubs most of them aren't back yet. So that's something that tends to happen later in the window. So we obviously I thought staff and players did a terrific job with the loan players we had last year. I thought they had really good additions, and we'll be looking to use the loan market again. But it's a case of being patient and getting the right ones rather than just jumping at any player available. So that tends to happen obviously a little bit later because of Premier League's coming back and going on tours and the squads they carry. But in terms of permanence, we're still looking to add more to the group. We need to add more when you look at some of the ones that have gone out that moved on at the we'll last season. So we'll definitely be looking to add in the coming weeks.
And aims for this season, finally, from me, presumably you can't hold back from saying promotion. That's the aim, isn't it?
I think it's not as easy to say that when you look at transitioning a team, which we will be doing. When you look at we did it successfully in January, but when you just have to look at some of the resources Ipswich will spend again. Bolton will spend, Sheffield Wednesday will spend, teams coming down I'm sure will spend money. So it's it's being quite honest, being quite accurate, and having a good level of self-awareness where we're at, and then it's understanding how do we become successful in the way we do it. I think it's real clear for me in terms of we'll set targets internally in terms of what we're trying to achieve, but yeah, you have to look bigger picture. There's some huge clubs in the league again this season. When you look at, if you put down the biggest 10 clubs in the league, some massive clubs with massive budgets that will be heavy on recruitment. So again, that's why it comes back to us in terms of we have to find a way that we can be successful, and a lot of that comes down to being smart of our recruitment, the culture we create, and how we develop players. So I wouldn't say it's as easy as promotion's the next step. I think it's a new season, a fresh start, and it's pushing, it's working with real intensity to ultimately finish as high as we can.
We know David Kazumi was offered a deal earlier. What's the latest with him?
Yeah, the offer's with him. He's sitting on it. He's thinking on it. So again, I think it gets to that stage where we have to obviously safeguard the team, protect the team, and it's getting to that stage where if he has to make a decision, and then ultimately we obviously then have to make a decision, because we obviously have to build a squad and build a team ready for competing next year. And when you're going into it and we're 51 games before we've even started, you need the depth. So that I'm sure will pan out in the next week or so in terms of where that's at.
I was going to say that's your time limit, is it then, the next week?
Yeah, next week or so. I don't want to say definite 7 days, and you guys asked me in 7 days where it's at.
Next Thursday.
I'll tell you, in the next 3 months it'll work out. So no, in the next few weeks, the dialogue's there, the communication's open. So we'll see in the next week or two where things are at.
Finally, we're looking around this place here. It looks a fantastic facility. I mean, how nice is it to have something like this to train with?
Yeah, terrific, and a huge amount of credit has to go. Simon Crampton, the ground staff, Harry, the kitman, the amount of work that's gone into getting the pitch of this level, but also the facility that we're working at ready, to be our home for pre-season. I think it's a massive thank you from me, the staff, and the players. So it's it just feels so nice in terms of coming up here and the environment that we have to work. It allows us to really come in and concentrate, and just the little things, the flow of practices, can work so smoothly when we're set up like this.